Hi, I'm Conrad Fischer, and this is Routine Miracles. And I am here with Mr. Billy Fields.
Hello, Dr. Fischer. How are you?
Okay, how long have you been my patient?
About 12, 13 years it's been.
Well, I met Billy about 20 minutes after I finished my fellowship in infectious diseases. And Billy is special here because out of all the patients that I'm talking to, he's actually the one that has been, is my own personal patient. Now, although I practice general medicine, I'm a subspecialist in infectious diseases. I got hooked up with what was the most socially active disease of the last 25 years, which is HIV. So, how long have you known you're HIV positive?
Since February the 2nd, 1992 at 10:45 a.m.
How come you know exactly what the time was?
Because 15 minutes later, my sister called me and told me that my father had passed.
Can you describe to me what it was like when you first found out that you were HIV positive?
I completely just thought about my father and forgot all about the information that I was told about, my diagnosis at that point.
So, after a few months when you realized that you were HIV positive, what did you think was going to happen to you?
The way people were dying at that time, that, I could be the next person. Like
it's true, the death rate was 97% at that time.
Yes, it was very high. It was very high. And my sister told me, because my sister was working here in New York, and she told me about you. And when I got under your care, things changed a lot for me because of the way in which you treated your patients.
What I want you to try and do is to paint a picture for people of what it was like before and after protease inhibitors were invented 10, 12 years ago. Because people don't get that so much. And your life has spanned before and after the invention of those medications.
Well, I think also at that time, it was only like AZT was about the only drug that was basically out there. And there was a lot of guessing because they didn't really have the necessary research and background and studies. So a lot of times people were being overdosed, some people were being underdosed. So with a lot of that guesswork, a lot of tragedies happened. A lot of people died. Some people were scared to take the medicine because the side effects of the medicine, the side effects were awful. And a lot of people just gave up because they just couldn't take the toxicity of the drugs.
You're a very experienced guy in the world of HIV. You do patient education, you go to all the classes, you go to the support groups, you go lobbying in the state capitol for funding for HIV. In addition to Billy also being a tennis pro, is, Billy's demarcation of how well his HIV is doing, would you say is how many hours a day of tennis you can play?
Like 3.5 hours or more.
Well, isn't that the nice modern face of HIV?
Now most people taking like 4 pills, 3 pills. Some people actually taking 1 pill.
1 pill once a day, and it reduces death by 95%. Well, it's just amazing, isn't it?
It is.
So, Billy, what message would you have for patients?
Well, one of the messages I want the patients to understand is that you have to work with your doctor. And number 2, you have to educate yourself about the viruses. This is not something that you can just put in someone else's hands and say, take care of me. This is a disease in which you have to be almost, I should say, even more educated than your doctor.
One of the biggest advances in medicine, the concept of patient empowerment, that people know more, they could ask more educated questions.
There's so much information out there. The CDC puts so much information out there. The drug companies put so much information out there. And if your doctor spends time at the computer, he can spend time taking care of his patient. So I think it's sort of like, one hand helps the other hand.
So the biggest message you have for patients is educate yourself?
Yes.
That being more educated doesn't damage a sense of trust or doesn't change the human relationship with the doctor?
No.
Well, that's an important message for doctors to hear. That's one of my messages for doctors, that their idea that it was better when we used to just tell people, do what I tell you, and if you don't do it, you're a bad patient. But this concept of partnership with patients is a good thing.
It's a great thing.
Do you think that people are able to appreciate the amazing miracle that this is a disease that's gone from 97% fatal to a 97% survival?
Now, people are not so concerned about dying as they are to make sure that they get access to care. And before, it was more or less, can we get something to save our lives? It's not about saving lives as it is now to have more of a maintenance situation going on.
Don't sit home in despair. Do something.
Do something.
Do something.
And that's what's going on now. You will see it.
I believe you.